In this video, we're going to go over what to expect with the builder's sales process. And of course, there's going to be a little bit of variety in this topic because each builder is a bit different. But in general, here's what you can expect. Now, most likely your search starts online, so you're looking at different builders, the communities that they're building in, the floor plans that they offer, and an approximation of pricing. But then the next step is you're going to want to actually visit the community and go in and meet with the builder, most likely in a model home that they have set up in the community you're interested in or in a nearby community. Now, I want to make one very clear caveat here that's not always obvious that a lot of buyers are unaware of. But if you have a buyer's agent, they need to be with you the first time that you go into a model home. So don't think that you're, trying to save your agent time, or you don't just want to bug them. And so you're just going to go check out the model home on your own. Your agent needs to be there because builders do have a clause in their contracts that say your agent must be the procuring cause of the sale in order for the builder to pay them a buyer agent commission. And I realize that this probably sounds very self-serving for me as an agent to say, but I've just seen it happen with too many buyers where they're wanting to save their agent some time. They're not really sure if they're going to be serious about a particular builder or community. So they walk in and all of a sudden they fall in love with something and they're ready to go to contract on it. And then they tell the on-site salesperson working for the builder that, hey, I have an agent. And then that on-site salesperson says, well, they're not here, so the builder doesn't have to pay them. And then that creates a tricky dynamic because really it is in your best interest to have buyer's representation, especially when working with a builder. But now to have that buyer's representation, instead of the builder paying for that, that's going to be out of pocket for you. So it's just best to avoid that situation altogether and make sure that when you're going into any model home for the first time, that you have your agent with you, or at the very least that right up front, the first thing that you say to the builder's agent is that, hey, I have a buyer's agent that I'm working with. They couldn't make it today, but here's their contact information. And if we move forward, I do expect that they'll be representing me. Just make sure that that's not going to be an issue with the builder. Just a great way to mitigate a potentially stressful situation down the road. But once you've gone into the model home, the builder really has three objectives at that point. They want to help you find the right lot. They want to help you find the right floor plan and go over pricing. And then they want to get you into contract. And that makes sense. That's a pretty streamlined process. That doesn't usually all happen on the first visit. It's usually over the course of a few visits, but just know that that's what the builder is going to want to do. Find the lot, find the floor plan, and go over pricing. And then if all that looks good, they're going to want to have you sign the contract so that you can move forward. They'll show you around the model home, and the model home is really the builder's opportunity to show off. In every model home that I've ever been in, pretty much everything that you see in the house is upgraded at least one, if not sometimes 10 tiers over what's included in the base price of the home. And that's something that's really important to keep in mind as you're looking at pricing and going into a model home, is that the base price that is advertised is usually going to come with a much lower package of included amenities than what you're seeing in the model home. And while it's not always the best thing to keep asking the agent, the on-site agent, okay, well,
how much is that upgrade? And how much is that upgrade? And how much is that upgrade?
That kind of ruins the experience for you as you're going through, to always have those dollar signs in mind. That's something that you and I can break down further before going to contract. I would say that as you're just going through the model home, keep it in the back of your mind that most everything that you're seeing is going to be an upgrade or an additional cost over the advertised base price. But just get a feel for, okay, do I think that this is a high quality construction? Is there anything that I'm seeing in the house that's concerning to me? Is there anything that stands out as really good or is really bad? And just make a mental note of those questions. But really, as you're going through the model home, it's about just getting the experience of the builder. And when you're interacting with builders, this kind of goes back to the last video of how do you choose the right builder. But this is your opportunity to really get the feel of the builder's agent or representative. Who the builder chooses to represent them says a lot about who the builder is. And so if that agent is somebody who you like and who you trust and who you feel like is really patient with you, really willing to explain the process, they seem knowledgeable, they seem sincere, they've been with the builder for a long time, those are really important factors to consider. If you're getting a bad vibe from the builder's representative and agent, that should be at least a yellow, if not a red flag to you that this is not going to be a good experience. And even if that builder's homes are $10,000, $15,000 less than the other builder across the street, I'm telling you, that $10,000 to $15,000 of a really bad experience and potentially a worse quality home is not going to be worth saving versus going with somebody who you get a much better feel for. And beyond just the representative for the builder, I always recommend seeing if you can meet the superintendent of the construction in that neighborhood. I just think it's really helpful to be able to get a feel for who they are. Are they friendly? How involved in the process are they? Some of the superintendents really want nothing to do with a buyer. They can be really difficult to talk with and work with, and that's not what you want. As you're building a home, you want a superintendent who is going to hear out any concerns that you might have, who's humble, that's not arrogant, is willing to receive any feedback that you have for them, so that way if you do see something that looks off, they're willing to receive it, and if you're right, that they're willing to correct it rather than arrogantly pressing ahead. You can probably hear underneath what I'm saying. I've had some experiences on both sides with good and bad superintendents. So I recommend that early on in the sales process with your builder. And then as the agent is taking you out to look at lots and floor plans, at the high level right now, you want to make sure that you've established with the on-site agent for the builder up front what your budget you're trying to stay within, what the needs for the house are, what lots appeal to you best. I don't think that it's helpful to go and look at 10 lots and 10 different floor plans. It all just gets way too jumbled. Hopefully the on-site agent, and then with the help of myself, we can narrow it down to just 2 or 3 lots and floor plans that are going to be the best fit for you, so that we're able to just go and look at those and compare those and not waste a bunch of time and mental energy and capacity thinking about things that we really should have ruled off from the very get-go. I'll do another video that does a deeper dive on how to choose a lot and a floor plan. But just know that at the high level right now, those are the next 2 decisions that you're going to need to make, is what lot and floor plan do you want. Once you've done those things, then the builder's agent should do a much more detailed description of pricing, what you should expect. They're going to go over the base price for building that floor plan on that lot, if there's any lot premiums on the lot. So sometimes builders will add $3,000 all the way up to $70,000 based on the size and the location of a lot. If there are views, or if it backs up to green space or a golf course, that there could be a lot premium on there that an average lot in the community doesn't have. They're going to go over things like the different structural options. If you wanted to add windows or go with an additional room or any of those kind of big changes, or what's the cost of a patio cover, they're going to price all of those things out for you. And then they should also go over what are the included amenities that come with that base price of the home. Are you going to get quartz countertops? What kind of flooring is going to come? What kind of paint packages do you get to choose from? So they should be able to give you a really strong idea of what's all included in the price of the home, as well as an idea of pricing for different upgrades that might be important to you. Because again, that base price, that is the bare minimum, and you should expect that when all is said and done, you're going to be paying perhaps even significantly over that base price based upon any additional concrete you might want to do, how much electrical and networking you want to do, if you're going to add a car charger into your home, and then of course the interior design stuff, depending on how big you want to go and how much over the included amenities that is, that can add up very quickly. So those are things to be mindful of as you're going over pricing. And then third and finally, the builder is going to want you to sign a purchase and sale agreement. And builders are unique because they all use their own contracts. These are things that they have drafted up. They're not the standard statewide contracts that are typical of existing homes or resale homes. These are contracts that are very specific to the builder. And so it's really important to have a good understanding of what's in that contract, what it is that you're agreeing to. And I keep reiterating this, but that's why it's so important as well to have buyer agent representation so that I can go through that with a fine-tooth comb, highlight anything that I think is concerning or unusual, as well as be a liaison for you to go back and forth with the builder on if there's anything where we've got questions, need clarification, or perhaps where there's the opportunity for negotiation. Speaking of negotiation, you should expect that when you're talking with a builder, that base price is generally non-negotiable. The builder sets that at the rock bottom, as low as they can possibly go with that base price. And so most builders are unwilling to negotiate against that. Now, a lot of builders, especially right now as interest rates are high, are running incentives, whether that's credits towards interior design, credits towards buying down your interest rate. Some have partnerships with different lenders to help secure a lower interest rate for you. So that's something that in the sales process you'll go over. What are the builder offered incentives? But just know that incentives are a little bit different than negotiating the purchase price, which is atypical. Most of the time you cannot negotiate the base price when building a new home. One of the other questions that people often ask a builder is, hey, can I save money if I don't have a buyer's agent? And this is a good question because typically builders pay a buyer agent commission of anywhere between 1.5% and 2.5%, usually going off of the base price, not the final sales price. But people see the opportunity to say, hey, if I don't have an agent, will you give me that 2% discount off of the price of the home? And a good reputable builder is going to say no. And the reason is that a builder should not incentivize you not to have representation. Let me say that again. A reputable builder is going to say, no, we will not discount the home based on whether or not you have an agent. And the reason for that is because it is actually illegal for a builder or anyone to incentivize you to forego your right to representation. So if the builder is saying, yeah, we'll give you a better deal for you to surrender your right to have representation, well, that should also be a red flag. And again, I realize that sounds self-serving, but you do have the right to representation. And again, this is where I really believe that a good buyer's agent is going to prove that value, that 2% or whatever it is, in the headaches that they save you, the ways that they advocate for you, and the opportunities that they find to save you money along the way throughout the build process. So that's something that's also really important to keep in mind, is that if a builder is incentivizing you not to have an agent, that should be a red flag. I would not move forward with somebody like that. And I say that even if it was me that was looking at buying a home. That's not a good sign. So Going through that contract, make sure you've got your agent to go through it with you. And then if all looks good, then you sign the contract. And typically at the time that you sign the contract, there is a deposit that is due. That deposit generally goes directly to the builder. And every builder here is a little bit different. Some do a flat rate of anywhere from $5,000 to $20,000, and some do a percentage of the base price of the home, whether that's 2 or 3% is fairly typical. If it's a bigger, more expensive home, or if the builder wants you to fund part of the purchase of the land, then it could be a far more significant deposit. But generally, somewhere in that 1 to 3% of the base price of the home that you're building is what I would expect for the deposit. And of course, that deposit gets credited back to you at closing. So if you're planning to use that money for down payments or other closing costs, you'll get it back once the house is completed. Now that we're talking about finances, let's move on to financing a new home. If you have questions, of course, leave them in the comments below or use the link in the description so that we can set up a time to talk through them together. All right, moving on.